A century of conflict, the roots of the Israeli-Palestinian struggle. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is one of the most enduring and intractable conflicts in the world. Its roots can be traced back to the late 19th century with the rise of both Zionism, a Jewish nationalist movement, and Arab nationalism in Palestine. Zionism, seeking a Jewish homeland, saw Palestine as the ideal location despite the existing Arab population. This sparked tensions. The British, after World War I, gained control of Palestine. They faced the challenge of balancing the aspirations of both populations. The British issued the Balfour Declaration in 1917, supporting the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This further inflamed tensions, leading to violence between Jews and Arabs. The situation deteriorated in the 1930s and 40s, with increased Jewish immigration to Palestine fueled by the Holocaust in Europe. This led to an escalation of violence, culminating in the 1947-48 civil war in Palestine. The British, unable to manage the situation, withdrew from Palestine in 1948. The conflict's early years highlight the complexities surrounding land claims, national identity, and the role of international actors. These issues continue to resonate today, shaping the ongoing struggle for peace and justice in the region. The birth of a nation and the displacement of a people. 1948 and its aftermath. 1948 marked a turning point. Israel declared independence, triggering the First Arab-Israeli War. This war resulted in a decisive victory for Israel and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes. This event, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe, remains a deeply traumatic experience for Palestinians. The war's conclusion did not bring peace. Instead, it led to a protracted refugee crisis and ongoing tensions. Palestinians, displaced across the Middle East, clung to the hope of return and justice. Israel, meanwhile, grappled with security concerns and the absorption of large numbers of Jewish immigrants. Several more wars followed. The 1967 Six-Day War resulted in Israel's capture of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. This further complicated the conflict, adding new layers of occupation and displacement. The 1948 war and its aftermath continue to cast a long shadow on the conflict. The issues of Palestinian refugees, the status of Jerusalem, and the occupation remain major obstacles to peace and reconciliation. The legacy of 1948 continues to fuel mistrust and resentment on both sides. Land, identity, and sovereignty. Unresolved issues at the heart of the conflict. At the core of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict lie several fundamental and unresolved issues. Land ownership and control are paramount, with both sides claiming the same territory as their historic homeland. This dispute fuels much of the conflict's violence and bitterness. National identity is another key issue. Both Israelis and Palestinians have strong national identities, with conflicting narratives about their history and connection to the land. These competing narratives hinder understanding and reconciliation. The question of sovereignty remains a major obstacle. Israel seeks recognition as a Jewish state, while Palestinians demand an independent state of their own. Finding a solution that addresses the aspirations of both peoples is extremely challenging. Additionally, the issue of settlements further complicates the conflict. Israel's establishment of settlements in the occupied West Bank is seen by Palestinians as illegal and a major obstacle to peace. The international community largely shares this view. Section 4, a humanitarian crisis, the plight of civilians in Gaza and the West Bank. Beyond the political and historical complexities, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has a profound human cost. The conflict has resulted in countless deaths and injuries on both sides, with civilians often bearing the brunt of the violence. The Gaza Strip, in particular, faces a dire humanitarian situation. The Israeli blockade, imposed in 2007 after Hamas took control of Gaza, has severely restricted the movement of people and goods. This has led to widespread poverty, unemployment, and a lack of basic necessities. In the West Bank, the ongoing Israeli occupation and the expansion of settlements have created a system of checkpoints, restrictions, and inequality. This impacts Palestinians' daily lives, limiting their freedom of movement, access to resources, and economic opportunities. The humanitarian situation in Gaza and the West Bank is a stark reminder of the conflict's devastating impact on ordinary people. Addressing the humanitarian needs of both Israelis and Palestinians is crucial for building trust and creating conditions for a just and lasting peace. Section 5. The international community and the search for peace. A history of involvement and frustration. The international community has long been involved in seeking a resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The United Nations, in particular, has played a central role, passing numerous resolutions and establishing peacekeeping forces in the region. The Oslo Accords, signed in the 1990s, offered a glimmer of hope. These agreements aimed to establish a framework for a two-state solution, with Israel and an independent Palestine coexisting peacefully. However, the Oslo process ultimately stalled, hampered by ongoing violence, mistrust, and a lack of political will. Various international actors, including the United States, the European Union, and Arab states, have attempted to mediate the conflict. However, despite these efforts, a lasting solution remains elusive. The international community faces the challenge of bridging deep divides, addressing historical grievances, and finding a formula for peace that meets the needs and aspirations of both sides. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the rise of global populism, and shifting geopolitical alliances have further complicated the situation. The international community must renew its commitment to peace and justice in the region, working to create a more favorable environment for dialogue and reconciliation. Section 6. The path forward. Dialogue, reconciliation, and the imperative of peace. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a complex and deeply rooted issue with no easy solutions. However, the pursuit of peace remains an imperative, both for the people directly affected by the conflict and for regional and global stability. Dialogue is essential. Both sides must engage in meaningful negotiations, addressing core issues such as borders, security, settlements, Jerusalem, and refugees. This dialogue must be based on mutual respect, empathy, and a willingness to compromise. Reconciliation is crucial. Healing the wounds of the past, acknowledging each other's suffering, and building trust are essential for lasting peace. This requires addressing past injustices, promoting education for peace, and fostering people-to-people initiatives that bridge divides. The international community has a vital role to play in supporting these efforts. Providing humanitarian assistance, promoting human rights, and holding all parties accountable to international law are essential for creating a more just and peaceful future. The path to peace will be long and arduous. However, the pursuit of a just and lasting solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a moral imperative and a vital investment in a better future for all.